Hello and welcome to the director's commentary of VHS Holiday. The first segment, Trick or Scream, was heavily inspired by an episode of the Cartoon Network television series called Regular Show. More specifically, the episode called Terror Tales from the Park 3. The Haunted Doll was heavily inspired by the episode's pumpkin-headed scarecrow. I'm not too much of a, fan of how this segment turned out, as it was kind of rushed, as I didn't really know where to go with the Halloween sketch, so I don't think this one was that good. But I will say I tried to go a different route than having the doll be possessed. I just had it where it's kind of a demonic entity, sort of. I basically inspired it off of the episode of Regular Show and Megan because of the way it moves around. Now, I don't necessarily hate how this segment turned out. It could be way worse. In fact, I can name multiple more of my projects that turned out way worse, like complete ass compared to this. But I will say, it's definitely not my favorite segment. It was kind of rushed, and, it was very stressful to film, especially this part where the burglar breaks in because I had to keep switching costumes. That was, oh dear God, so annoying, and with all the editing, it made this segment very stressful. But I don't have a problem doing stressful stuff if it goes over well and people like it. And it seems like VHS Holiday actually went over decently. Actually, this part right here is a reference to Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Austin Abrams' character, Tommy, he always smacks Harold, and that's exactly what I did there. Had him smack the dummy, or haunted doll. And that's exactly why I had the doll killed the burglar, because it pissed it off. Like, the burglar hitting him pissed off the doll, so it's like, you know what? You're next. And if you guys are curious to why the burglar picked up the camera, like why I put that in there, is so he'd pick it up so you guys could see behind him and notice that the doll is gone, like it moved. Because I didn't know how else to implement that if it's like kind of, not found footage, but like a found footage type thing like VHS normally is. And Haunted Dolls really, it's not that realistic, but in a sense, it makes sense because VHS has some wacky ideas in its mainstream films. So that's why I don't think Haunted Dolls are too much off the table. And this scene was the first scene I thought of. I'm like, I know a burglar's got to shoot me in the face. That's just got to be a part of this. Like, I easily envision that. And right there. And of course, this scene I kind of inspired off of Megan a little bit. Just the way it moves around and the way it just goes berserk, stabbing the burglar. There's your homework, guys. Don't hit dolls. The second segment, Thanks Unforgiving, was actually the first storyline that I came up with when designing the stories for the three segments in VHS Holiday. The direct inspiration for this specific segment came from an internet creepypasta called A Christmas Feast. In short, a man is invited over to his neighbor's house for Christmas dinner, and they kill him and cook him. It's actually a very cool and dark story, so I definitely recommend that you read it. Now, the character for this particular segment wasn't really inspired off of much. I just wanted a character with a creepy vibe, but also kind of a wholesome vibe. Like, the creepiness comes from the fact that he's all smiley and he's like, Happy Thanksgiving. But the wholesomeness comes from the fact he's talking about how sweet and kind his grandma is for helping him cook, saying that he needed a grandmother's touch. Something sweet like that have you think, alright, he's just really creepy looking, and he's acting kind of creepy, but he's actually really nice. That was exactly my initial plan for this segment. Now, I did kind of inspire this character off of Mr. Crocker from the Fairly Odd Parents, but demented. But my initial goal was to make sure the audience didn't know he was demented yet until the segment goes on. For example, whenever he stands up and you see the blood on the apron, I wanted that to be like kind of a red flag, like, what is going on here? Is he some sort of butcher or something? And of course, whenever you see the meat cleaver with blood, you're like, okay, this is really starting to creep me out bad. And then, of course, the big reveal with the grandma. So yeah, what my initial thought here was to put a spin on a similar concept to that story, the Christmas feast, but make it Thanksgiving and do something a bit different. Instead of it be like, oh, I killed like the family pet, or oh, I killed my neighbor, having it where, holy shit, I killed the grandma, like something like that. This story was actually, like I said, the first one that I thought of because I wanted to do something kind of unique for the Thanksgiving sketch. Because I know I could have did like somebody dressing like John Carver from Thanksgiving, but I wanted to do something kind of original. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want to do too much. And as mentioned, VHS has some wacky segments in their movies, so this and the Killer Doll isn't really too far off. And the grandma's head, I used a latex skull mask. I can't remember what I used to put in the mask, but to make sure it kept its shape, and an old lady wig that I got. So yeah. As for the gore effects in the scene, I wanted to go somewhat practical, so I used some spray blood from Spirit Halloween as it looks quite realistic. And I wanted to put some on the apron and the meat cleaver to kind of show that unsettling vibe. And of course, I wanted to give the audience that really big red flag that something's not right. The third and final segment of VHS Holiday, Oh and Holy Night, was actually the one that I had the most fun filming. Now, it was kind of annoying because I had to keep changing in and out of costumes again, but this one was quite fun, unlike the Halloween segment, because I inspired this one directly off of The Mean One, which is the recent Grinch horror movie. As a major fan of The Grinch, that blew my damn mind whenever they released The Mean One. And of course, that was my main inspiration because, if you noticed, the killer Santa Claus in this segment acts kind of, you know, cartoonish whenever he's like waving at the kid. But also, he's demented. Watching the Mean One was quite demented. But I also had it where it's more realistic. It's just a guy dressed like Santa Claus. And that's actually a pillowcase that I'm wearing and put the Santa Claus hat over and that I cut eye holes into. Now, as for the father and daughter relationship, that was kind of based on, just like the typical Christmas cheer type thing. So really no direct inspiration, just I guess the typical holiday cheer. And the elf sweater, by the way, that's actually something that I wear around Christmas time. Like, no joke. In real life, every year for Christmas, I wear that. And see, right here is possibly the darkest part of the sketch. And yeah, somebody told me this is actually too far. But VHS is known for having such a dark and twisted turn in all of its segments. So that's why I saved the best for last. And this was actually done in kind of a sadistic, way. I don't exactly remember where I got the exactly, you know, scalping idea. I think I just thought of that. I don't think I inspired that off of anything. The handsaw was just kind of a choice. I wanted to use something that I hadn't used on camera too much, so thought a handsaw was pretty good. And of course, me, boogity 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 out of there is Santa Claus. That was kind of just, being spotted. And this was kind of a nod to another movie that I did called Mr. Rogers, where Frank Castle got framed by Mr. Rogers. So yeah. And the darkness of this scene is almost too much, but VHS does love to do that. So that's why I made the final sketch very dark and just sick. Oh, and also, in case if anyone's wondering, the song that I used at the end for the credit scene actually is the song Baby Blue by George Strait. Because I wanted to use a non-creepy song and make it creepy. That's why it's slowed down and distorted and almost incomprehensible. So, yeah, that's my commentary for VHS Holiday. But yeah, it's Baby Blue by George Strait is the credit song for anyone wondering. I genuinely appreciate all the love and support that's being given to VHS Holiday. And from the looks of it, this may not be the last of me with anthology films. I might star in more.